Stephen Mathai-Davis, Chief Investment Officer at Quantamize, is here. And we are talking both ETFs and stocks in an extended and special edition of the Money Life Market Call. Welcome to the Market Call, everybody. This is the part of the show where we talk with experienced money managers and analysts about how they do their job, what they look for that informs their buys, sells, holds, and what they're seeing in the market right now. Beyond that, we like to find out what are the good examples of their methodology, and then we put them to your test with some hold it or fold it. Now today, a little bit different because you normally expect us to do the Market Call at the end of the show. Well, we are going to be doing it all the way to the end of the show. But because Quantamize evaluates both ETFs and stocks, we are going to extend this. We did this the last time that Stephen Mathai-Davis was on the show back the first week of the year, and it worked out so well, we're going to do it again. So what we will do is Market Call all the way to the end of the show, but there will be one commercial break in the middle of it, so stick with us if you want to get everything. Now, if you want to get everything about Quantamize, then you need to go to Quantamize.com, and they're on Twitter at QuantalyticsRES. It's all linked up at the Money Life Show recent and upcoming guest page. Stephen Mathai-Davis, welcome back to Money Life.
Chuck, it's great to be back on the show.
Glad to have you here, and glad that we get some extra time, that it works out for us to be able to do this, because although we have other firms that analyze both stocks and ETFs, it's not always the same guy who's sort of putting together the packaging, and we would often have to do it in multiple interviews. Now, we're going to start on the ETF space today because there's a lot of interesting things going on also with the way your system works. So explain what Quantamize is, what Quantalytics research is, how it works, and what determines which ETFs you like and which ones you dislike.
Sure. Quantamize.com is the research platform really built and directed to the self-directed investor, people like your listeners. And what are we doing with ETFs? We're doing some really interesting stuff, in my opinion. We're doing buy-sell signals, where we're using AI and quantitative methodologies to determine whether or not a group of ETFs are buys or they're sells. And what's unique about what we're doing is that we're taking deep learning, which is a form of AI, and I won't get into the details there, but we're using multiple algorithms to figure out whether or not SPY is a buy, RSP is a buy, etc., things like that. Similarly, besides the buy-sell signal, we're trying to answer a different question, which is, what large cap ETF should I buy if I've already decided I want to buy large cap? And what we've done is we've created these factor attribution reports where we look at groups of ETFs broken down into different categories: U.S. mid cap, U.S. large cap, dividend, emerging markets, consumer, tech, etc., things like that. And we say within its peer group, what has the best factor attribution? And think about it this way. When you buy a portfolio, whether it be a mutual fund or you're putting money into a money manager, you're looking at their return attribution to see, well, is this really good fund? Well, nobody's tried to do that with ETFs, and we thought that it would be a radical thing to go in there and try to make it easy and transparent for people to figure out what ETFs they should buy. Of course, you've got to believe our factor models are relevant, but we give you performance metrics on what our factor models are doing for stocks. But if you believe that our factor models work, then this becomes a really interesting product.
So when you're looking at things right now, how does it determine not only which ETFs you like, but which sectors and weightings and allocation you want to be in? And how does it deal with things like overlap? I mean, you talk about having the best large cap growth ETF, but do you just want one? Is it, let's try to find that one? And best is defined as all risk adjusted return or outright return, or what?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chuck. So let me try to break that down. Well, let me come back into what best is. Best, we've broken the ETF smart beta scores, and that's what we call our factor attribution, into different factor groups. And an ETF is going to get the best score if it's got a fabulous technical score, fabulous quality value, fabulous low volatility momentum, fabulous growth, etc. So you follow that logic. So when we're thinking about what a best to worst rating is for these smart beta rankings for our ETFs, that's how we're thinking about it, just purely on a factor basis. Now, when you want to think about, well, should I own this ETF or maybe I should own several of them, we've actually tried to answer that question as well, where we create ETF portfolios. And we run it through a different form of AI, which is trying to optimize the holdings. So the AI algorithm may decide that it makes sense to own 2 or 3 similar ETFs. But it's doing that because it's trying to create a mosaic of ETFs into one portfolio where your risk-adjusted returns are maximized.
How do you deal with the rapid changes that we see in the ETF space where a lot of things are coming out and they're granular and you've got every little slice of the pie out there? I mean, how do you decide, again, if best is I'll go with an emerging markets ETF or if best is I'll go with one that covers Brazil and one that covers India and maybe I'll stay away from something else and I'll go with some China?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's kind of our buy-sell signals. That's the thesis behind it. What we've done is we've created this massive big data platform where we're looking at how all these ETFs interact with each other. So when we're coming up with a buy-sell signal, let's say for FXI, that's the large cap China ETF, it's not in a vacuum. It's being considered in the context of U.S. large cap, European mid cap, Japan, India, where we're pulling in all kinds of big data, stretching from sentiment data to information from options markets to information from commodities markets to information about the underlying holdings of many of these ETFs. As you can tell, this is a seriously big data platform. It's taken us a few years to build this out. But I'm totally psyched at the returns and the results so far that we're seeing from this.
So let's talk about an ETF or two that are the poster child for the methodology. I mean, you talked about the software and the platform is designed to pick the best in a certain space. So help us understand what's the best in a certain space.
That's great. We actually published a report earlier this week where we talked about what were our top ETF ideas for the week. Now, what's interesting is now remember with Quantamize we're pulling all kinds of data, and actually you get access to the entire ETF global database on Quantamize. So you can look up to 3,000 plus ETFs, all listed in the U.S. As it's scanning through all this data, what it keeps coming back to our algorithms is small cap ETFs. Now, how about that? Over the past 2 to 3 weeks, when you've had such sharp market volatility, our algorithms kept saying buy small cap, and it was reiterated again on Monday when we reran everything, and it's saying for the next month to 2 months, small cap and value ETFs in the U.S. are the best buys across all 3,000 ETFs that we look at.
And is there a poster child like, hey, this is our absolute favorite, or this is the one we like best, or what have you?
Yeah, there are a couple. I'm going to highlight 2 that are my favorites personally. The Vanguard Small Cap ETF, ticker VB, and the Invesco S&P 500 Equal Weight ETF, ticker RSP. I'll talk about RSP just for a second, why it looks better than SPY. It's simply because the holding weightings are equal. So when you have the volatility like we had last Monday of the previous week in the FANGs, the S&P 500 and the SPY sold off. Guess what? The RSP finished up. Now, why is that? It's because the performance metrics are not as skewed to these mega cap names. It's just a great way to get exposure to large cap stocks without really being forced to own the FANGs or some of the other mega cap stocks.
But of course, the RSP, that is a larger cap fund. VB, why does VB stand out to you, the Vanguard Small Cap?
Well, it's great. This ETF over the last 2 to 3 weeks has been continuing to be highlighted as our best pick. Now, it's a more small cappy name. It's got a smart beta rating of best, so within the mid cap group, it's the best rating. It's also got a buy trading signal. The reason we like small caps is more of an earnings play on top of this, is that if you look at where earnings expectations are, earnings expectations coming into the year were cut the most they've been in several years. So analysts were tanking, and what you saw the recent quarter is the results were much better than expected. So it was kind of a beat and raise type of situation. And what we view that as is it's a great opportunity for small caps. If you look at small caps in the first half of the year, for the most part, they lag large cap equities. And we're looking at the second half thinking, well, given the environment we're in, you can use deductive reason to say that the small caps should now theoretically outperform large caps. And what we're seeing with our algorithms is that the AI models really love small caps.
Well, now we're going to find out if your models like some ETFs that my audience is particularly interested in.
Play, hold it.
You got to know when to hold up.
Or fold it.
Know when to fold up.
It's Hold It or Fold It time with my guest, Stephen Mathai-Davis. He is Chief Investment Officer at Quantamize. If you want to learn more, Quantamize.com, on Twitter at Quantalytics RES for research. And we will be doing 2 batches of Hold It or Fold It today, one for ETFs now and a little bit later for stocks in the second portion of this interview. But if you've got stocks, funds, closed-end funds, ETFs, whatever you're interested in that you want us to put past an expert, send your name, your hometown, and the ticker symbols you're interested in to Chuck at MoneyLifeShow.com. We'll add them to our list, and hopefully we'll get them into an interview soon. Okay, so we started before this talking about VB, the Vanguard Small Cap. So we're going to go just one click up the cap sizes. Richard in Chula Vista wants to know about Vanguard Mid Cap. That's VO.
VO. Hold it. This has got a buy trading signal. While the smart beta rating is caution, we would still be holding this. Again, we go with our trading signals.
So the trading signal says buy. And again, trading signals for you, it's not something that somebody should go, oh, they're necessarily trading weekly. As you pointed out, your trading signals on small caps are saying that they're likely to be the sweet spot for a while.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Trading signals are always a month to 2 month out.
A buy on VO Vanguard Mid Cap. Andrew in San Jose wants to know about Russell International Growth. That's IWF.
IWF, we've got to buy, and I would hold it. It's got a caution rating, but we really like IWF here. This is one that's had a buy trading signal for the past 2 weeks. Again, we're looking out for the next month to 2 months. I'd hold it.
And you said it has a caution signal. Explain that for my audience.
Caution signal means that, we're looking at different growth ETFs, and within that category, it's not the best growth ETF, but it still is a buy.
Okay.
So overall, the category is a buy, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's necessarily the best choice within that group.
Okay. So we can make that a cautious buy.
Buyer beware, dude.
On IWF, the Russell International Growth Fund. We'll stay in international. We'll move to a much smaller international fund in terms of geography. Mark in Eagan, Minnesota wants to know about the iShares MSCI Mexico Fund. That's EWW.
This is a total hold it. This is a buy. I was actually interviewed the other day talking about Mexico on another news show. We really love this ETF. EWW, this is the buy trading signal. We do not have a smart beta rating for it, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't consider it.
He either gets on board or he gets left behind.
That's a buy on EWW, iShares MSCI Mexico. Let's come back to the U.S. Another request from Mark in Eagan, Minnesota. This for QUAL, the iShares MSCI USA Quality Factor ETF.
Yeah, this was a surprise because as a quant analyst, I'm really interested in the quality factor. But this is a sell. This is a folded. It's got a smart beta rating of poor. Trading signals that sell. Just get away from it for now.
So, although you like the quality...
Whoa, dumber than advertised.
That's a fold on QUAL, the iShares MSCI USA Quality Factor ETF. Joe in Colorado Springs wants to know about the Fidelity NASDAQ Composite Index Tracker. That's 1Q, ONEQ.
Yeah, this is one of our conviction short ideas in ETFs. This has got the worst smart beta rating in our tech ETF category. It's got a sell trading signal. Sell this thing immediately if you can.
Yeah, well, what you're really saying, what was in there is, unless you wanted to play it short, you would actually be shorting this.
This would be shorting this. And some of you who follow me on Twitter, you know that we liked XLK a few weeks ago. Short ONEQ. This is not one that we're chasing at all.
Put that one on the psycho list.
Well, it's on the psycho list, or it might be the shrewd move list if you decide that you want to be going short on 1Q, ONEQ, Fidelity NASDAQ Composite. And last, for Rick in York, Pennsylvania, it's the Spider S&P 500 Growth ETF, SPGY.
This is in comparison to IWF. This is a hold it. It's one of our high conviction growth ETF ideas.
So where the IWF had the cautionary note, this one straight out, no worries.
No worries at all. This is a bang, bang buy. It's done great this year. It gets great scores across the board. Total buy.
Would you mind stepping aside? I've got a purchase to make.
So that's a buy on the Spider S&P 500 Growth ETF, ticker SPGY. Now, normally, when we're talking about our buys and we're getting to this music, we're getting ready to say goodbye to a guest. But that's not what we're doing today. Stephen's going to hang on. We're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to do the stock portion. So we'll talk just briefly about how Quantamize's stock methodology works. We'll take a look at the poster child for that methodology, and then we'll bring you more tickers on the stock side of the system, so you'll get to experience that. Well, that's coming right after this message. Stay tuned. This is Money Life. We're back for the rest of today's extended Money Life market call with Stephen Mathai-Davis. He's Chief Investment Officer at Quantamize. Now, if you want more information, go to Quantamize.com, and they're on Twitter at Quantalytics Research RES, Quantalytics RES. But we have been talking about ETFs, but the Quantamize system, well, it doesn't just evaluate ETFs, it evaluates stocks. And so we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about stocks. So, Stephen, as we jump back into this, well, when we talked methodology earlier, it was the ETF methodology. It was what was going into your buy, sells, hold, sell them shorts on ETFs. What informs your decisions when it comes to stocks? How different is the system, and what are the specific things that are going to make a stock stand out, good or bad?
Yeah, it's going to be similar related, right? When we look at our stocks, what we're first using is our AI factor models. And in English, that just means we're trying to create groups of factors together that we think help really predict stocks. And what makes us a little bit different than other people is that we do a lot of proprietary research, and the factors that we look at for U.S. large cap are going to be different than what we look at for U.S. SMID, are going to be different than what we look at Asia, and different than what we look in Brazil. So we're not always looking at PEs and price to books when we're thinking about value. We think about value in different ways. And we think about value and how it interacts with quality. With low volatility, you'll hear me talk about low volatility momentum. We don't just look at low volatility alone and momentum alone. We look at how they interact together, and we create factor scores based on that.
Okay. So when all the factors are looking right, you know, we were talking about finding the best in a category when it came to ETFs. What are you looking for in terms of helping people build portfolios and how many things they might want to own and spaces? I mean, how do we divvy this up to decide what are the best stocks to own?
Oh, yeah, totally. So, listen, we look at 10,000 stocks. So that realistically, that's not useful to somebody saying, well, what should I buy right here as a portfolio? Well, we take it a step further. So we do two different things. One, we have a group of deep learning algorithms that run through all of our top buy ideas and our top short ideas to find out what are the best groupings every day. What stocks should you buy for the next month to 2 months? And that's what we talk about every day on Quantamize. Again, what we're running through is our big data platform that's looking at sentiment, they're looking at tweets, they're looking at Google searches, things that are going on in Reddit, they're looking at data from the options market, etc. So we're churning things all night to come up with the best ideas.
And your signals, again, last how long? If somebody's hearing us talk today and here's to say there's a buy on something, how long does a typical buy signal last?
For the stocks, typically it's about a month to 2 months. And I was going to comment, we also create portfolio solutions, everything from what's a great concentrated portfolio of quality value stocks to a stable dividend portfolio that you hold for 3 months or for a quarter to what's the best way to buy marijuana. We have a marijuana portfolio where we create a portfolio of marijuana stocks that tries to create the best holding optimizations based on what our algorithms are saying are the best marijuana stocks to own.
Did you get that one, folks? A marijuana portfolio.
Yeah, it's been...
Quickly, poster child for the methodology. If you wanted to show one or two stocks that stand out that are not my audience requests but are here's a pick that's just killing it on the charts right now.
Yeah, let me tell you about two of them that we've been hammering people over the last 2 weeks. Walt Disney and Google. We really love the consumer tech space. These are flagship stocks that have been top buys for us actually for the past month to 2 months, and it continues to look as like top buys for the next month to 2 months. Now, I'm not going to get into fundamentals because there are fundamental reasons why you want to own Walt Disney or Google, but from a quant perspective, these stocks have fabulous quality value scores, which for me is a great sign. Great low volatility momentum, fabulous growth, and the technicals are saying these stocks are oversold.
Well, now we know what works. We're going to find out if what my audience is interested in is working, time to get back to some more Hold It or Fold It.
Play Hold It. You got to know when to hold up. Or fold it. Know when to fold up.
It's our second helping of Hold It or Fold It today. This time we're talking stocks with Stephen Mathai-Davis from Quantamize. Quantamize.com, the website. Quantalytics RES on Twitter is where you're going if you want to get more information. And, of course, if you want us to be talking about things that you're particularly interested in, you need to send us your name, your hometown, the ticker symbols you're interested in to Chuck@moneylifeshow.com so we can add you to the list. Somebody who has done that just recently, Dan in Williston, Vermont. We're going to start with two requests from him. The first is from MetLife Incorporated, MET.
MetLife. Now, this is actually one of our highest conviction stock ideas in U.S. large cap. This is a total hold it, and if you don't own it, buy it. We wrote a post the other day talking about the options markets and how options markets are still very positive on select stocks. This is kind of working in conjunction with what's going on in our factor models. Total buy here.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
That is a strong buy on MetLife, MET. Dan's other request was Vishay Intertechnology. That's VSH.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. You know, I like Vishay as just, if you were asking me to put my analyst hat on, it's a hold it, but it's got a cautious signal here. But because of pretty good quality value scores, we wouldn't fold it here.
Okay, so this is a true hold in your system. This is hold it if you've got it, but you're not buying more.
Absolutely.
So what ultimately changes the signal on something like that? I mean, obviously it could go either way. If you felt it was likely to go down, you'd be at an actual sell. If you felt it was likely to go up. So is it just we're waiting for a catalyst?
No, it's a scoring system. We rate everything A, B, C, D, F. And if you look at Vishay, for example, there are a lot of C's and B's. So it's getting a net score of a C within the category group, but it doesn't have a lot of unattractives, and this is a short within a category.
And that would be why Vishay Intertechnology, VSH, is a hold.
No money changes hands today.
Tom in Louisville wants to know about WD-40 Company. That's WDFC.
This is a definite buy. Listen, if you own it and can buy some more, I would definitely buy some more. If you don't own it, definitely a mid-cap stock to consider. It's got fabulous scores across the board. This has been one that we've liked for a while. The models love it. If you look at each category that we use for you as mid-cap stocks, it looks fabulous.
So, a strong buy again, this time on WD-40, the ticker symbol WDFC.
Oh, that's beautiful. We could make a fortune.
Next, for Richard in Chula Vista, California, it's MongoDB Incorporated. The Class A shares are MDB.
Yeah, Richard, I'm sorry to disappoint you here, but this is a folded, and if you can short it, we'd definitely short it. I love MongoDB's technology. I happen to use it quite a bit here, but this is a complete screaming short. Not only our factor model saying it is short, but the neural networks were recommending it as a short to people just 2 days ago.
You're going to lose everything you have, and you're not going to have anybody give it back to you because it's a stupid move on your part.
Well, that would be if you held it. If you shorted it, maybe not, because that was a short on MDB, MongoDB. Richard had another request, this for NVIDIA, NVDA.
Yeah, that's a great one because we talked about Vishay before being cautious hold. This is NVIDIA's got similar overall score, which is it's a neutral, but this is a folded. I'm not sure about shorting it, but if you look at some categories like low volatility momentum, it's getting an F rating. This is not one that I would want to hold, and definitively it's not a buy. I'm not sure if it's a short, but this is definitely a folded.
Oh boy, that sounded bad.
That was a fold. Not a sell it short, but an actual fold on NVIDIA NVDA. And last, for Stefan in Hollywood, Florida, it's Brazil Foods. That's BRF. It's an ADR that trades under BRFS.
Well, this is a stock that I was excited to talk about simply because I'm a former Brazil portfolio manager, and I love Brazil. Unfortunately, BRF is not one we love. It's a hold it. It's not a fold it, but, Stefan, this is not one that we'd be running out to buy right now.
So we end on a hold.
I'm just taking my time before making the move.
A true hold on BRFS. Brazil Foods, an ADR, trades under ticker BRFS. BRFSA is the ADR. And although it's a hold, we can no longer hold on to Stephen Mathai-Davis. who is the Chief Investment Officer at Quantamize, who's given us extra time, and it's always great to do that. Stephen, thanks so much for joining me on the show.
Chuck, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
That's Stephen Mathai-Davis, folks. And if you want to learn more about the Quantamize system, you got to go to Quantamize.com to learn about it. They're on Twitter at Quantalytics.res, and that way you can also follow some of their picks and some of the things that they're doing. Okay, we'll be back to wrap up today's show, let you know where Stephen overlapped with some recent guests or maybe didn't overlap with some recent guests. And I'll tell you what's coming tomorrow, besides it being my birthday, before we send you home right after this message.